What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hope everybody's having a good one. Long time no talk. My guest today is an awesome individual. She is a Marine and former WWE superstar, but more importantly, she's a mother. She's a business owner. She's a wife. She's an amazing friend, and she's someone that has been through a lot. So, super excited to have Macey Evans with us today. All right, there is no Lacey Evans anymore, but this is Macey Estrella. Sorry, Macey Estrella is with us today,
Yeah.
and I'm excited because I've gotten to know you through the TV. You know, I got to know your persona first, and I've then in the last year or two gotten to know you personally. And even more funny, Alfonso, he and I think text, not text, but we message each other every day on Instagram, funny videos and stuff that goes to the individuals we are. That we care about mental health, and we understand that just random messaging someone that a funny thing or just a thought throughout the day is good and it is fun to receive. So um I'm dying for us to get together in South Carolina at one point in time and have our whole family get together and all this stuff. But I'm excited to talk about your past, what got you to take the path that you took, and where you're at now. Because a lot of individuals, what I've been learning in our position that have been through the suck, that have had a shitty past growing up, a tough childhood, are doing everything in our power to not fall into that position again, but to not allow our children to ever have to go through that again. And I love seeing that every time I log on and I see your posting on Facebook or Instagram, and the way that you're teaching your girls to grow up, and that's what I want to talk about. So Macey, let's start where you want us to start, and tell us what made you who you are today. What do you feel really is what made you who you are today?
I feel like, obviously, as you mentioned, my upbringing, my childhood, and the other huge factor is the military. As you said, my childhood was not the best. Definitely a lot of PTSD. My parents were addicts. They abused and used drugs and alcohol to get through the life struggles, right? And my father lost the battle with addiction. He overdosed when I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. That's out there. I speak on that a lot, just because it kind of sucks that, my whole life I watched him, kind of in that battle, and a lot of times very angry and very, very high, to the point of, passed out, on the floor, on the couch, or whatever the case. And then to see it take his life, given the last breath to that addiction, really sucked, as a child, because you always hope for the best, right? Um, and then the military, is the other huge factor, because that is where I learned, what I wanted in life, and the grit and the motivation in order to capture it. Um,
Oh, we just lost your audio.
Alcohol. I know what I wanted to be, but because that was all that I was shown. I just knew what I did not want to be, and that was in front of me. And being a child, um, that's caught in the middle of that very young, it's hard to even fathom, a future. And the fact that at such a young age, I woke up and looked around and was like, "Fuck this." I don't know what is out there, but as I'm stepping over, like, my parents, high bodies, and like walking her eyes, like, I know this is not it. So yeah, I just go, and it was more than just drugs, right? It was mental health. And I say this with full, belief that the drugs and the alcohol is the band-aid that they choose to put over those mental health wounds. Um, and so that's what I watched, and I think that makes it even harder when they do overdose and when they do die because of it, because you knew they were suffering it in such a worse way, that they never kind of were able to fix. And that's kind of the hardest thing. So that's why I use my voice and my life now to dive into the mental health aspect. Um, And that is why I'm straight edge and completely sober in regards to that, because I want to feel my PTSD and I want to show my children how to work through that. And not only just PTSD, but my mental health, right? Whatever it is, rather it's not just post traumatic stress, rather it's kind of what I have from that. And I enjoy the fact that instead of choosing drugs and alcohol, I have to face my issues with a sober mind. So there's no band-aid there. And my kids get to watch me kind of work through each wave, right? Because it's not, some days are great, but some days those waves come out of nowhere, regardless how successful or how much money you have, or if you have a happy marriage. I mean, we could literally just be sitting here talking about it right now, and that dark cloud comes in, and next thing you know, we hang up and we're done with this podcast and we're fucked up. And so it's those waves that come in that I think is really cool, that I get to teach my kids how to confront with a sober mind. That way they can learn how to work through it and not end up like my family did.
I agree with you. That's huge because with my case, I remember it it sucks because I notice you and I are trying to build these positive and amazing core memories for our children and for our family around us, where from what it sounds like in your end and in my end, some of the core memories we have are bad ones. I remember, my dad dealt with alcoholism. He died when I was a month before I joined the Marine Corps. He died uh, trying to save someone's life. Ironically, one of his coworkers, but it was in a pit filled with gas. It overcame. But my dad and me hadn't spoken. He died when I was 20. My dad hadn't and me hadn't spoken for the 15 years, for 5 years since I was 15 years old. 5 years before he passed away, we hadn't spoken, and they got separated when I was 11. But some of the core memories I have are my dad drinking to the point where he would then start beating my mom. 7, 8 year old. And I remember running from my room to jump on the bed to get to my dad's eyesight and him, pushing me out of the way to hit my mom. And those are things I never forget. And it's something you mentioned. It's a band-aid. It's something they're covering up. And the problem with this band-aid, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is you're using that's negative for you, is that it doesn't give you that state of mind, like how you said, to take on your struggles, to take on whatever it is you're dealing with. It just lets you forget it. And then it piles on. And then something else happens. And then you drink some more and then piles on. But you never address the first issue. You never addressed the main problem. I don't know what my dad's main issues were growing up. I wish I could interview him now and ask him. I might do that with my aunt, his sister, but it has to be trauma that, from the move from Cuba, leaving Cuba, everything you knew, to then their struggle coming to the US and everything. And it just sucks that he was never able to deal with it. And it has a lot to do with the stigma behind speaking about mental health, that I noticed you and I don't give a fuck about, because at least for me, I did at one point follow that footstep. Um, Even though I didn't have him around me and I pushed him out of my life when I was 15, some way, somehow, when I got out of the Marine Corps, and even while I was in the Marine Corps, uh, I gravitated towards alcohol and I gravitated towards this band-aid because this is what I knew how to deal with. I didn't know how to deal with problems, and I didn't know how to deal with certain problems. It just, problems were dealt with alcohol, period. So um now that it took me a while, and I'm not gonna say I'm sober because I'm not. I do drink celebratory now. I no longer drink the way I used to drink. But it took me a while to veer from that. I did have to go sober for a point in time when I had hit rock bottom ultimately in 2014, that the alcohol led me to start abusing cocaine. And I was separated from my wife, and I got to the point in 2014 where I was suicidal. I wanted to end it all once again because of what I learned in life. At the age of 10 or 11, my dad's youngest sister committed suicide. And it's statistically proven that when you're a child and someone in your family commits suicide, that's what you correlate with on how to deal with your biggest downfall or your biggest struggles. And I gravitated towards everything negative that I had learned. I gravitated towards during my times of need and whenever I was depressed or dealing and not wanting to open up. It took me, like I said, wanting to end it all, finally becoming super sober, dry for months where I just no longer drank anymore, or anything like that, to then see my problems. Once I saw my problems, then I was able to start seeing different ways to try to get out of it, right? And once I started doing that, I had a bigger appreciation for that problem and for the process that I went through it. Like how you said, I wanna approach. I wish I could just rewind right now to use your exact words. You want to feel what you're going through, um, and that band aid numbs it all. It numbs it, and I'm a little jealous of you sometimes because I see something that you post a lot, and it's your mom. It's the way that you've now, I think, kind of are teaching your mom, guiding your mom to follow your footsteps in, you know, being a mother and a wife and family member and matriarch. And I see you doing that. And I wish I could do that with my dad. I wish I could, take him and be like, hey, dad, there's different ways. Maybe you don't have to be Mr. Cry Pants, a man that cries, but there's ways to speak, there's ways to talk, there's ways to deal with your issues other than just drinking, to the point where you want to hit the people that you love the most. And I wanted to ask you, so maybe we could help other individuals that have that ability to have their parents, to have the people around them that maybe struggled and was the reason why you changed your life, but now you're able to do it for her, right? How
Right.
how did that happen? How did that come about? Did you approach her? Did she finally just say, I can't do this anymore? But how did that go about? And how much of a struggle did you think it was at the beginning for you guys?
For her, it was terribly hard. I was active duty. I was very young. So my mother's been off of hard things for a while now, for 11 years. I was pregnant with my youngest, and we were trying to fix our relationship, and um, I called her. I learned that she was lived where I was stationed. She lived very close. So I was like, well, my mom, I haven't really seen her since I was between 10 and 12. She's kind of been in and out, choosing a lifestyle that was not conducive to anything that I believe in or try to teach my children. And so I called her and I was like, hey mom, I'm stationed near you. I just wanted to try, I want to try to patch things up, without saying that. Right now I could talk like that. Now I could say, hey, I want to talk about gratitude, I want to talk about heartbreak, and I want to talk about our relationship. Back then I wanted to say that, but instead I was like, hey mom, I've just bought a house and I just needed a little help. Do you think you want to make some extra money? Looking back now, if knowing what I know now, had I called my mom and said, hey, we have no relationship, I am pregnant and I want to try to rekindle something, I think but back to how you said, you and I don't give a shit. It's a taboo conversation about mental health and how messed up people are. Now we could speak like that. Back then I made up some dumb dumb excuse as to why I wanted to, like, get back with her. And I use that as like a foreclosure that I just bought. She shows up with no shoelaces and just looked very unhealthy. And I could tell that there was things that she was doing in her life that I could not have, not only around myself for my mental health, but around my unborn first child. So long story short, I said, never mind. I can't do this. I stopped it. I said, I can't have this around my unborn daughter. I said, my memories of you are not very good, of both of my parents, of my life. I said, I'm not gonna have that for my children. And I try to connect and hold on to the woman that you were before life whooped your ass. And I know that sounds so brutal now, but before she started using band-aids for her mental health and her mess up brain and you know. I said, that's the mom I want to remember. And this mother in front of me is not only what I don't want to remember, but my child will not know. And I told her to leave. I said, get out of here. We can't do it. And I got a phone call about an hour later, and it was her. And she said, can you meet me at the IHOP? And so I got in my car, and I'm going to try not to cry. But I got there. I was very confused because we didn't have a good relationship anyway. But I got there, and she was sitting there, and she just looked like a wet dog, is the best I could explain it, just beaten down. And her head was it was kind of hung. And I said, what do you know, and I sat down, and she said, I don't want to be this way. She said, but I don't have I don't have a reason not to be. I lost my children when I started making terrible choices. I have no reason to fix myself. So I told her, if you get sober and you get a place to host for us, I'll make sure all your kids are there. I said, you have kids. That's the beauty of what your position. I said that you're still alive and you have children. And so long story short, she got sober. She got off very hard drugs. She still alcohol, but everything else. And she started to work on her mental health. And that's where those Band-Aids that she was using, no, she no longer needed. However, she still needed the alcohol for a lot of the wounds and the trauma that she had endured. And at that, my naive brain, I was like, well, that's better than the other stuff. That's better than her other life choices and her living conditions. And then as we speak today, she's over a year and 4 months sober, from all alcohol, everything. And so it just took, just saying, no, absolutely, and it took me being a mom to realize how much I needed to stop and how much I needed to change. The woman I am now is the opposite of who I was. I protect myself more than I ever have, but I also help people. And you did say, like, what would you do? Or you lost your dad, and I don't know if you rekindled, right? But I want to tell the world that you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. My mother chose to get sober. I did not make her, right? There was a time I was admitted to a mental health hospital. When I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps. I don't think I ever told anybody this. I completely broke. I was sober, but I allowed my family and their addictions and their trauma and their lack of fight to learn how to address it and fix it. And when I say learn, I'm talking whatever the hell it takes: therapy, counseling, getting sober, meditation, you name it. I have dug deep into everything. But I I didn't have boundaries, and I was a mother of one, and I was in a mental health hospital, completely sober and completely fucked up at the same time. And that was when I said, never again. I love my family. I loved my father, and I love my mom, but I will never allow a horse that doesn't want to drink water to drown me or my children ever again. And that's what was happening. I was completely submerged in the pond that I had pulled this horse to try to assist them. So while I will help, I created a mental health cafe. I do these. I talk about mental health. I talk about the fucked up human brain, and I promote it, and I have those discussions. But I will never allow people, family, it doesn't matter. And that could be not even just drugs. That could just be a lifestyle. That
Anything,
could be
yeah.
a negative, something as simple as such a negative mindset and attitude. No, I will close the door, because I come first before my children, before my husband. Because if I am not squared away and I'm in a mental health hospital, what the fuck are they gonna do? What good am I? I take care of the bills, like as far as like the admin stuff, the home, the food. I cook, I clean. I'm a mama. I am a wife. But what good am I in a hospital? I can't feed my husband. I can't wash my babies. I can't tuck them in. And that's when I was like, no more. I come first, and my husband, and then my family comes first. And anything that is fucking that up, I can't do my job as a mental health promoter. I can't do my job as a mom, as a nothing. So to anybody out there who feels so guilty that that want to help, and that, like I do with my mom, don't feel bad. If you could help, but the minute that it's starting to impact what yourself and your brain, then you need to cut that cord and keep working, because that was one of the biggest things that I've learned, is how to say no, but also how to, for the ones that do need help and the ones that are suffering and want to change, or want to learn, want to grow. I'm all for it and I'm here. But I have a very short, you know, patience, right? Not even patience is not a good word, because I'll help the world. I do seminars all the time, and I have longevity patience for all of that, but not when it starts to impact my heart and my brain. And so that's important. Don't you do a lot, but just keep that in mind. Don't feel guilty when you've tried, because you're only responsible for yourself at the end of the day, and that's important.
100%. I talk about that a lot. I've spoken a lot about that when I was coaching individuals for mindset coaching. The power of no is so important, and it's not saying no to other people. It's saying no to yourself, because individuals like you and me that have been through the worst of life and everything, we tend to sometimes say, "Damn, but I want to help this person, but I want to," and it's no to me. I have to say no, because I could give two great examples, and the best one is the airplane one. When they're telling us on the plane right before we leave, they're like, if the mask comes down, you put your mask on first, and then you help the child or the person next to you, right? But here's
Right.
what happens to some of the people that you're talking about right now, that I've dealt with, and I'm currently dealing with some in my life right now. You put the mask on yourself, then their mask is right in front of them. You literally grab their mask and you hand it to them, but they're going like this to you the whole time, slapping you because they want your mask. No, I'm trying to hand you your mask. I'm trying to hand you your floaty, because you're
Yep.
drowning, but you want to pull me in the water
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So there's been scenarios recently, and that floaty one was the second one that the example I wanted to give for people to visually see this, where I have now done this. I have seen someone that is drowning. I have thrown the floaty. I felt the tug while I was trying to pull them in. I felt the tugger that they were trying to pull me into the deep end with them. And I've literally just cut the rope and left them with the floaty. I've
Yeah.
tried giving you every single tool I've given you. There's the floaty. It's up to you now to figure out you're actually floating in water or
Yeah.
treading. Okay.
Yeah.
Just get the fuck out of the water. I can't no longer tell you anymore, or help certain people anymore, because what people don't realize is that it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work for individuals like you and me to stop ourselves from getting back into those positions that we don't ever want to get back to again. All
Yeah.
right. Do we know how to get out of it? Yes. But boy, do we know how to get back on to that X, or back on to that depressive mode. We know more than anything how to get there faster. Anybody could tell me right now, hey, Oz, man, how do you do this? How'd you get so positive? And I tell them, it has taken me since 2014 to turn my life around. And then in 2014, after I turned my life around, it took me till 2018. So 4 years after I already had, I thought, turned my life around, I really turned my life around. Started going to college, started my podcast. Um, I started being more involved in my family, everything. Why? Because it took that long for me to fix me. But in 5 minutes, I could go back to where I was in 2013, right before I wanted to kill myself. And I was high on coke all the time and drunk all the time. So the power of no to yourself is so important, because it allows you to deal properly with yourself. And then it allows you to help others on your terms, the way you want to help. Leads me to
Yeah.
the next thing that I want to bring up, which is something you've done. Um, Individuals like you and me need to find a purpose. You mentioned you had your daughter. You were pregnant with your first child, and during my separation, Frankie was 2 years old at the time, and I would get him on the weekends. That purpose, bigger than myself, is something that led us to, both, I believe, you and me, to really um create a better environment for ourselves, because we knew now that we were the sole responsible ones for the little ones that we were bringing into the world, right? um
Right.
but then we weren't done. we still find a way, and it's you, me, other people that we both know, Jason Redman, stuff like that. People that have been through the darkness that I realized then find a better purpose for themselves, but then some way, somehow find an even bigger purpose that is for others.
For others,
Um,
100%.
it's like I started my organization, I started my podcast, you started your coffee shop, and it's people don't realize we do it for ourselves. Whatever your coffee shop helps you immensely, but it's the opening the door for other people to take that path themselves too, right? When did you decide? Is this something you wanted to do while you were already wrestling or something like that? Or when did it finally hit you and come to you and say, you know what? I want to create something that I could leave behind for my children, a coffee shop, something for the community, but it has to be very deep into mental health. It has to be, it has to be me. And that's what I see when I see your coffee shop. I see you. It's not only in, in the same city as Paris Island, in the same town, where I feel like that's you. That's me in a way. Like if I would do anything, it'd be like somewhere around there if I lived in the area. But it's like, how did you when did it hit you and how did you realize that this is exactly your calling right now and something you want to do?
I've always been an advocate of mental health, of addiction, of just making it in life, right? And I always say, like, success, like being successful. But if you hear success, you think money, you think fame. To me, that was never so, like people's idea of success is different. Mine is happiness, sobriety. I come from nothing. I didn't have a bunch of money growing up. So that to me, like, put me in a trailer park with a good meal for to eat at night, a roof over my kid's head. I don't need much, right? So my thing was success, like the happiness that I was after when I got into WWE. So I became a military police officer, to help people to try to be that person. So when kids are going through what I went through, the domestic violence, the assault, the drugs, the addiction, the evictions, just that shit life. That if they called 911, I was going to show up and I was going to be that person that I needed when I was younger. I got into WWE, and one of my first promos that I did at my tryout stated that, this is where it come from. My father just overdosed on the same drugs that I watched destroy my family and almost my brain. He had just overdosed 2 months before my tryout, and I was just so angry. And I was also at that time trying to help a lot of other family members under the same roof as me. And I went to this tryout, never thought I'd actually make it. But one of the things that I said in the promo, which I want to find that video, um, was, it doesn't matter where you come from. I said, I just lost my dad 2 months ago. And if you guys hire me, I said that I want to show the world that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what you've been through. You get to decide what your future is. And so that's my game plan coming into WWE. It wasn't, I want to be rich and I want to walk red carpets. And I was like, that shit's fucking stupid. I want to be able to use my platform and show the world just how high you could get in life, meaning use my story because I was happy. I was freaking killing it in here and in here. I was sober, and I thought that was the coolest shit I ever did, was knowing that that's where I come from. And every day I woke up, I got to make the decision. Okay, well, I'm mad. I'm very sad. What can I do? Should I drink? Should I? Hell no. Go to the gym, wake up, wash your face, take a shower, drink some water, go get some sunshine, freaking keep moving. Put the alcohol down. Don't even look at it, and go write down goals and chase those motherfuckers. Right. So I got in 7 years. I did WWE. I finally got to the point, and it was like pulling teeth, to be able to tell my story on live TV and a storyline. That was my most proud moment. Was getting to do that, because even though, like, I guess the fans didn't take to it, or I don't give a shit, because I know millions of people heard my story. They saw where I came from. They saw that I still made it, and they saw, and a lot of parents saw that, put the shit down, make better choices. Like, this is not right. So it was really cool that I got to use that. I've always drank coffee my whole life since I was 12 years old. Because of my upbringing, I was desperate to not end up passed out. So in my little 12-year-old brain, I was like, I'm going to drink some coffee. I'm going to get myself on the school bus, and so I don't end up passed out like that. when really deep down I knew it was the drugs. You know, they weren't asleep, they were high, they were on drugs. I needed the caffeine to keep going, right? Um, so I thought it was really cool that I can use, you know, thank. I know this sounds so dumb. Thank caffeine for being there for me to remind me that I needed that energy to not end up like that. If that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
um, about a year left in my contract. No, probably almost 2 years. I've been working on this cafe idea for a long time. And in WWE, there's always a saying, "Good luck" or "Thank you for your time. Good luck on your future endeavors." And I'll put it to you this way: I was working on those future endeavors for a long time because it was my passion. Um, I red carpets are great, but I wasn't feeling fulfilled as a mom, as a wife. I've been good to go since I was 19. But as somebody who I was on more red carpets talking about WrestleMania and promoting that than I was doing what I get to do every single day. And it is to say we are all fucked up and life is hard, but this is how we're going to get through it today, one day at a time, one coffee at a time, whatever it is that you could positively attach to make it through those waves. Because it's not, you know, it's their waves. Some days are great, some days you're on the beach in the sand and you're feeling the sunshine, but when that wave hits, it's how to get through each wave and each day. And I was not being able to do that on the platform or the scale that I wanted to, right? So I was just unhappy. I was just looking around at these red carpets and these 6-inch heels with 10 pounds of makeup on. And I was like, you know, and it's go, 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 go. But like, what have I done to change lives? Like, what have I done to like, and it was a lot, too much for my goals and my passion. Like you said, it's like, it's your why. And I had such a big why that I was not getting to tap into to the amount that I wanted to. So, and then last thing you did mention, like something you could leave for your kids. I ain't leaving this shit to my kids. They better figure it the fuck out. I did not have anything handed to me, and neither will they. My 11-year-old is in this motherfucker sweeping and mopping and cleaning, and that still doesn't mean this shit is hers. She if she can show me that like she, but that I mean, I got 5 staff members. I'm here now. If they outdo my kid, I'll give it to them first before. So I just want to make that clear. Just because it's named Sunny Summers Cafe does not mean I'm giving it to my babies.
That's
They
awesome.
better work hard and show me that they want it, because I promise you, uh, I'm not giving them anything.
That's awesome. You mentioned something, starting everything that you said about success and your definition of success. That's been huge because I've had this conversation with so many people. They're like, dude, Oz, and I've never gotten to the level where you and some of the people that I know are at. Um, but I got to go on Sirius XM, and I remember having you on for a Veterans Day event while on my show, and I got to do Sirius XM. It was like, hey, you got an event here. You have to go to Art Basel. You have to go do this. You have to go. And I didn't want to do any of that. Everybody's like, oh man, dude, you're becoming successful. And I'm like, I already thought I was successful. I'm actually unsuccessful now. They're like, what do you mean? But you have your Sirius XM morning show and you're meeting all these people. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't got time to do the things I want to do. And that was my definition of successful. I mean, there's financial success, there's social success, I guess you could say. And for some people, they mix financial and social success together. I think like you though, success to me is being able to do whatever the fuck I want to do with the time I have, which is not much because none of the time we have is guaranteed to us. And we can never get it back. We could get money back, we could get red carpets back, we could get all that back eventually, but time we can never get back. And I've had that conversation with people all the time because people will tell me, "Hey, man, what are you going to do now when you're done with your bachelor's?" And I'm like, they're like, "Oh, you're going to get a job because I mean, you're getting a bachelor's with all these certificates." And I'm like, "No, I don't know. I might get a master's now." And they're like, "But why? You're not satisfied? You could be successful with your master with that." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not. I want more in my life. I want to use up my time wisely, and I want to continuously set examples for my children so that they can't say no. I don't think my kid could say no to me about anything, just like you, because of the things we've done and examples we've set for them. That I want to teach them that when something's a problem, you go and fix it. That's the reason why my son, since he was, I don't know, 7 years old, he was out on boats with me during our Operation Wet Vet fishing trips, either helping people bait up the fishing rod or fishing with them, but in the boat themselves, himself with us,
Yeah.
knowing that, okay, when his friends asks him, what does your dad do? He tells them, he's like, oh, he started an organization because he wanted to help veterans that weren't getting help. So it's like I taught him in that phrase right there to exactly when there is something that you don't feel adequate help for, you go and do it. You go and fix it yourself, right? And that's the example I'm trying to do, and that's the success I'm trying to leave my children, knowing that they don't got to chase some societal norm or some financial norm, but knowing that success to them is, in my perspective, being able to do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. And it's not because of money, it's because you're content, you're happy with where you're at in life. You're happy. Do I want a bigger house? Yes. I talk to your husband about that all the time. I want a farm in South Carolina or one in Central Florida. I've even told him I want him to build me a barn one day, blah, blah, blah. I want all that. But am I going to go drop everything I have scheduled with my family and everything to try to go chase that one big house? No, I'm not, because then I'm gonna miss out on everything that I have right now. The time that I have with my children. Um, yes, your father and my father were taken from us because of choices they've made. My father jumped into a pit full of gas that overtook him. Your father, um, unfortunately, with his the substances he chose to do, but those are decisions that they made, right? And we learned because of the decisions they made that life can be taken from you at any point in time. Plus, we also learned, you and I being in the military, that it can just be taken from you at any point in time. So to me, success is using every second I have right now. Um, and I know you've done that, because I mean you've gone to the bigger level to homeschooling your children and everything, because you wanna, in my eyes, you're properly managing the time that you have with them, and
Right.
and and you understand how crucial what the core memories they're gonna create right now are just
Yep.
gonna be ridiculous, and more importantly, filled with substance and knowledge that they could pass on and use in their life. Instead of my core memory, I can never use that other than as an example that I don't want to remember. Like I was saying, to my kids the other day, I was talking to my son because he's 12, about to be 13, and I'll never forget. I think when I turned 13, 14, my dad gave me a condom. He was like, "Here you go."
Yep.
That was my talk with him, and I'm like, there was never the and I'm not saying I got to hold my son's hand and walk him through the path, and at
Right.
least with the condom talk, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there was never the actual process of saying, "Hey, dude, this is the way it happened to me," or "This is how
Right.
I experienced it." It was just here, and
Right.
I hate that. Right? So now with my kid, I had a conversation with him the other day, and I told him, I'm like, "Hey, please, if you feel I'm like being wrong, or you just feel uncomfortable with the way I speak to I'm talking to you, or trying to teach you something, please guide me, please help me in a way, because frankly, I don't know anything on how to be a dad past 11, 12 years old. Like everything I'm learning, everything I'm doing with you, I'm trying to learn from what I saw on TV, from what I learned from some Marines I served with, and
Right.
stuff like that, you know? But I want to make sure that it's right so that then he can create these core memories and pass them along too, and stuff like that. Um, what would you say are your biggest foundational things that you carry on as a parent, as an individual, but as someone that, how you said, you want to lead examples and stuff like that? The reason why I bring that up is because people know you from, Lacey Evans, and that was a different persona. And I've
Right.
gotten to know you now in the last 7 months where you've been you, right?
Yeah.
Not different, because your persona was scripted to you in a way where they kind of told you, you got to be
Right.
that, hey, you nasties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you've veered a little bit from that. There,
Right.
the true you, strong you is still there, just like me. Like, hey, go fuck yourself sometimes. All right,
Yep.
cool. But
All the time.
it's
All the
hard.
time.
It's hard to get your message through to people when you were doing that whole calling you nasties and stuff like that. And
Right.
some person's like, oh yeah, I love this attitude, and then 5 minutes, you get that spotlight where, like how you said, you got to talk about your story, but then they're like, oh, hey, go back to this other person or whatever. So it's like, where is the real foundational values that Macey has, and how do you like pass them forward? Which ones are the ones that you really stick forward, that you really stick to? You know what I'm saying?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was just thinking about this the other day. You know, I went to a mental health seminar in New Jersey 2 days ago, and I learned about childhood trauma. It's resilient minds on the front lines. And I did it for 3 days to learn how to be a facilitator about childhood trauma and how to use it almost to your advantage as an adult. And I learned a lot. And some of the things were how to break those cycles, as far as how you talk to your children. And I was like scared to death because I'm listening to these examples, and immediately I'm thinking, these weak fucks, like, there's no way I'm gonna, coddle my child. She's 11, and like, no, because I didn't have that. But on that same breath, I also don't want to teach my children the way that I was taught, just like you. It's like, well, where's the happy medium? Because I want my children to have grit and be firm and be unshakable when they're standing and what they believe in and what they want. And I feel like, so I'll give you like my story. So when I started my period, my mother was not there to guide me through it. I had no idea. I was living in a tent, and I'm going to get real TMI here, with wads of toilet paper shoved in my, underwear.
Yeah.
And that was my, because I didn't have my mother to show me, and so we were living in a tent, and I remember I would just have to be burying my toilet paper, right? And because that was my life, that was my example of, or not even my example, because I didn't fucking have one. That was what I had to go through. So now I'm sitting here with my daughter, who's coming up on that time, and I'm trying not to cry. And I'm like, well, what am I going to tell her? Because nobody was there to show me. And
And I get
and that's what
exactly what you're
makes me the
saying.
most angry. Like, what kid should have to do that? And then mostly, what adult should have to raise a child with no idea on how to face those challenges, right? So and then asking for help is so hard, but it's one of those things where we learn, like right, we have
But
to at
what
some
the
point.
fuck are you gonna do? Are you gonna go revert back to the band-aid that is gonna make it
Yeah.
worse than for that child, right? So
Right. So I hit the books, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out. I went on Amazon and I bought some books that I could sit and read with her, and we could have that conversation when that time comes. Because I refuse to have my kid having to figure it out on her own in that regard. But on the other side, it's like, well, damn, I am the woman. I am as resilient and have the grit that I have today because of what I went through, and because my daughter will never have to go through that. I'm like, I'm like, how do you juggle that? How do you give them the example,
and the
and how do you give
suffrage
them
at the
that
same
grit?
time. And the
Right,
suffrage,
and
right?
also give them that grit to where they're not little fucking soft motherfuckers, right? So, I try to juggle that the best that I can, and I'll give you one example. Just last night, my daughter had a gymnastics competition, and I'm the type of mom, I make sure all her shit's good to go, like, but I also hold her accountable. Okay, you got all your stuff. All right, let's go. We drive up to Charleston. And I'll be damned if she don't get on the floor and her first routine is her bar routine and she forgot her grips. Um, and so her coach texts me, and she says, and a lot of people are going to hate me, but I don't give a shit. So let me just put that out there. PSA, public cert, yeah, PSA. I don't care, because I'm going to raise. I'm trying to juggle that, and I stand firm in what I told her last night. And her coach, and I'm pulling up the photo now. Her coach texted me and said, "Hey, she forgot her grips." And I said, "Good. I hope she rips skin." And the reason I said that is because there's one day you and I are not going to be here for our kids. We're going to be gone. And there's going to be a time, and not in gymnastics and with grips, there's going to be a time that they forget their grips in life. And I want to raise a kid who is strong enough to stand firm and push forward and finish it. and do
once
it.
once their skin gets torn because they forgot their grips.
Guess who's
That's
not
the
gonna
thing.
yeah. Guess who's not gonna forget her grips again? Do you know what
Right.
I mean? But never, and because I won't be here to always pack her grips in life. And so this is that's her.
That's her grip memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad this happened. And because two things came about that. Her bar routine was the first one. She ripped her skin open and had to push forward and finish vault, finish beam, and finish floor with those hands, right? And the second thing is in life, when you are double checking what you need to finish a task, whatever task that may be, my kid after last night, she probably won't forget grips again. Not only that, but my favorite part is that she'll know when life whoops her ass that she could finish and that she could push forward. So it's kind of like, but then afterwards, me and her sat down, right? This is the part where we learn what not to do and how to do it different, but also, and I looked her in the eyes and I told her that this was my favorite meet, and that it wasn't about the grips, and it was about the fact that that in adversity, you fucking push through.
It's about the
And I'm
lesson.
so proud of you. So that moment of sitting there talking to her and explaining why I thought it was just, you don't have grips, you're gonna, you're gonna do it. That was the moment that I never had, right? So and I told her, I said, not only did I not own grips, not only did my parents not be in the state, like I had to figure stuff out. I never had grips to begin with, right, kids? So like I'm proud of you that you persevered through one of millions of life's fucking struggles. That wave that came in that thought it was going to pull you over, kid, you kept going. And then I took her, and we had that intimate one-to-one conversation. Then we went and had pizza with all of our friends, and we celebrated the victory of persevering and pushing through. But so not only did I make her fucking do it, but I had that conversation with her as to why I did, how proud of her I am, and I held her, and so I don't know if I'm doing it right, but at least I'm doing something, and I'm trying the best that I can.
Yeah, that reminds me of my son's teacher messages us that he had gotten, or no, we constantly are checking my son's grade. My wife is, she's a teacher, so she's always on top of his stuff. And we saw that his one of his test grades changed from like one day to another. And when I requested a parent conference teacher to find out why it had changed, she's like, "Oh, the thing was that he had taken his test and so did the kid next to him. They turned their test in and they got caught talking to each other. And I deducted the grade because I felt bad and I didn't want to give him a demerit because if I gave him demerits, then he wouldn't go to the dance." And I go, "You need to stop right there." I go, "You're going to give him demerits right now." I'm here in the school, like, you're going to give him demerits right now because one, you cannot affect his grade after he's already turned in his test. But two, it's not my problem if he misses his dance or anything like that. He got a demerit. That is the punishment for discipline. Uh,
Yeah,
so for
yeah.
afterwards,
God forbid they're held accountable today. It's
right?
like, whoa, easy,
So
calm down, easy.
I was like, "No, you're gonna hold him accountable." And she's like, "Sir, but are you serious? The dance is tomorrow." I don't care about the dance. I'm like, I go, not only that, I go, "Is there any makeup work that he has to do? Because now while he's
Hell
missing
yeah.
the dance, he could come in to afterwards and do while everyone's dancing, do the makeup work in your class." I go, I don't know what to say, ma'am. I go, but he needs to be held responsible. And I felt bad afterwards, but I didn't because in my back in my day, it would have been differently. My dad would have probably heard the story while he was already drinking, spanked me, punished me, and I wouldn't have learned much out of it other than anger, resentment, and no lessons, no foundation. Nothing was given to me because of that afterwards. Just pretty much instilled fear to not do it because the repercussion was going to be bad. But it wasn't
Right.
like the repercussion happened to me because there wasn't like no correlation. And when I went there, she was like, "Oh, I thought that, um, you would be okay with this." And I'm like, "No, I'm not okay with it. I want disciplinary action taken because I want there to be some lesson taught to the child, but not coming from me. Because coming from me, it's going to be more, you know, bulldogish, like I would say I told her, I go, coming from me, it's gonna be like coming from a Marine speaking to his junior Marine, and I don't want that. I want there to be your lesson, but then me to reinforce that lesson once he gets home, you know? So
Right.
there's a big thing with holding individuals accountable and stuff like that. And people like you and me tend to hold on to that because we have no problem holding ourselves accountable.
Absolutely. And that's the kicker, right? It's like, uh, we've broke the cycle of what our parents did. Uh, and we also hold ourselves accountable. So it's like, and everybody's going to judge. They're going to have their idea of what's right and what's wrong. And like, as long as you do it with conviction and you do it with the right mindset, and but I just I'm not raising a freaking kid that can't handle it when I'm gone. Our jobs as parents is to prepare our children for when we're not here. And I can sleep good at night knowing that I'll give her all the tools, including the mental health, including the meditation, including the all of that, to get through even her worst days. So, and to be thankful for her great days. So it's like give or take. But yeah,
Yep,
no,
I
that's
do the
awesome.
same thing. I do the same thing with my kids. My 12-year-old, my 7-year-old will start doing it now too. But I'm teaching them golf. I'm teaching them to be outdoors. Well, we play golf sometimes, and I'll be on the golf cart, and Frankie will just hit a bad shot or something, and I'll tell him go walk to the next shot, because what I want to teach him is to absorb the nature around you,
Yeah.
to absorb your walk from here to there. Think about the what just happened. If you're going to get on the cart, I'm going to get you there in a second. You're going to have no time to reflect, no time to
Yep.
take your next shot a different way. You're going to take your next shot the same way you just took that shot,
Yep.
because you did not
Reset.
reset. But I have to say, you have to sometimes, and you mentioned it, you have to enjoy the suck. Not enjoy it, but you have to absorb it. You have to
Hmm.
feel it. You that band-aid cannot be there for whatever it is. And even in golf, there's that band. Like I said, for him, you get on the cart, we'll go try the shot again. No, walk there, think about what you just did there. So then you approach it with a fresh mind, a fresh set of eyes, everything. Once he sets down and he sets and he stands there, I tell him, stop, breathe. You know, I'm teaching him that breathe, reset, like how we would reset for our trigger, breathe, and then pull the trigger in life, you know, and little things like that. And it's because you and I have been through the suck, absorbed the suck, feel it, and it sucks, you know, like how you said, you don't want to push our kids through the full gambit of the feelings, but I do want you to feel 75, 80% of the pain. You know what I'm
And
saying?
face it. And face it.
Face it. So, Macey, I want to thank you so much. I know you have a busy day. You got to brew some coffee out there. But
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much. For the people that don't know, please tell us, you know, where can we find, uh, sunny summer, right?
Yep. Sunny. I know it's a tongue twister.
Sunny
Sunny Summers
Summers
Cafe.
Cafe. Yes.
Yeah, we are located in Beaufort, South Carolina, Paris Island, the military base. All new Marines eat free, and we do a lot of mental health events. I do want to shout out my boy Dante with the baby face kayfabe clothing. By the way, I was just thinking about him when it comes to perseverance. Incredible stand-up freaking dude with a lot of cool merch. So, uh, my little plug on him. And no, but we're located in Beaufort, South Carolina. Obviously my Instagram is I don't even know now because it's changed.
Limited Lacey, right?
Shit if I know.
Limitless. Limitless Lacey.
Macy, right? No, Limitless Macy. There you go.
There it is. Limitless
Limitless, because there ain't
Lacey.
shit you can't figure out, overcome, and do. So keep that in mind. And anybody out there listening who's going through whatever it is that Ozzy and I just freaking discussed, you could message both of us at any time, because this is kind of what we love to do, and I can't wait to come back out. I want to actually come down and see you so we can get the families together and
Yes.
do this more often. Because
And vice
life
versa.
life sucks, bro. Life sucks for everybody, no matter where you are in your life. But there's ways that you can make those waves. Not only you can make it through them, but there's sunshine and sand at the other side. You just got to go through each wave at a time. So
You got to
thank you
ride
for
them. That's what I tell everybody. You got to ride the wave, and be prepared, and know that the wave does crash. But I unlike nature, I do believe that we do control the waves here. We do
Yeah.
control the intensity and everything. That also goes with the power of no, the internal no, saying no to things. Because somebody like you and me that we want to constantly always help and constantly always do, it's hard for us to say no. But look, for me right now, I'm a full-time college student. This semester alone, I'm taking 5 classes. Next semester, I'm taking another 5 classes to just graduate already, and then I might now start doing a master's that's accelerated 30 credits in 1 year, in 12 months.
Wow.
But during all that, I'm still trying to do my nonprofit organization fishing trips in Kentucky, here in Miami and Tampa.
South Carolina.
I want to do South Carolina again. You know, I want to do my podcast, all that stuff, but it's not going to happen unless I say no to myself to doing certain things, right?
Right.
So just wanted to throw that one out there again. But I wanted to thank you once again, Macey, for joining me, taking some time today in the morning to talk about our mental health and how we could help ourselves and others. But more importantly, how what I love to do is make an impact and a legacy, which is something I think you're doing. A lot of people make an impact, because of something they did, some stupid thing that made them go viral, but no legacy was left behind. And I think that real winners in life are the ones that make an impact when they come and hit the ground, and this is who I am, but more importantly, leave a legacy behind, that not just your children but others around you want to emulate and fall behind and live like. So thank you so much, Macey.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited for our next one.
All right.